Your name?
My name is Mark Dudzic.
What's your work?
I work with the Labor Campaign for Single Payer.
And you were arrested in May before the Senate Finance Committee. Why?
We stood up at the Senate Finance Committee because we were fed up with politely petitioning both houses of Congress and having single payer consistently shut out of any deliberations on health care reform.
Right. Now, the labor movement is split over single payer. You have groups like the SEIU who say, no, we can't talk about single payer now because we have to pass something. Others, like the California nurses, say, no, we need single payer. Why isn't there a unified front?
Well, I think the closer you get to the grassroots of the labor movement, the more unified people are. I think folks who are out in the field in the fight every day are really very supportive of single payer, and that's what the purpose of the labor campaign is to mobilize that grassroots support. I think once you get inside the Beltway and you get these connections with the Democratic Party and some of the national leaders don't want to offend politicians, that's where you get complicated and you run into difficulties.
Is there any move to turn, other than SEIU, what are the unions who are saying, let's not talk about single payer now?
On a national level, there's AFSCME, I think, is probably the leading union in the AFL-CIO that is trying to look for a way to support an Obama health care plan.
Right. So, is there any effort to turn around the leadership of the AFL and to say, put single payer on the table, demand single payer, and don't settle for a public-private compromise?
There's a massive effort underway right now to go to the AFL-CIO convention in mid-September and pass a resolution that puts the Federation on record as supporting single-payer health care and not supporting compromises that would just bail out the private insurance industry. That's a real growing effort. We think that will have a real effective presence at the convention.
And a new president is going to be elected in September, right?
Yes, Sweeney is retiring.
Who's in the lead for that?
Right now, Richard Trumka is I believe the only declared major candidate for AFL-CIO president.
And so what's Trumka's take on this? Do you know?
You know, I don't know where he stands right now. I know historically he's been a real strong advocate of single payer, and the labor movement also split in the early 90s around whether or not to support the Clinton health care plan versus single payer, and Rich was on the side of the single payer folks in that fight. We hope he'll be with us on this.
Is it your view that we should seek to defeat any legislation that's not single payer?
You know, I haven't seen any legislation yet, so I don't have a solid view on that. I think we should seek to defeat any legislation that embeds the private insurance industry at the center of healthcare distribution. I think those are sort of the criteria that we have to use, but I'd be reluctant to say there's no other things that we could do that would advance it.
What's your take on how Obama's acting with regard to healthcare?
I think Obama is being way too cautious. He's fighting the last war, not the next war. That he needs to seize the historic opportunity that this crisis in both healthcare delivery and the economic crisis has provided to make a substantial change that he knows in his heart and his soul is the right thing to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.